Hey, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to draw a simplified version of Marvin the Martian, which was the foundation for the finished drawing that you're seeing right now. One of the important principles in learning to draw is to make something simple first instead of focusing on the details too early in the process. Once you have a simplified version that looks good, then you should focus on the details, allowing the simplified version to guide you in terms of where to put your details and at about what size they should be drawn. This video demonstration is designed for you to be able to follow along and draw with me. I'll draw it nice and slow with plenty of real-time explanations of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. You should be able to keep up with me without any trouble. Before you start, I'd recommend that you download this border template, which is available in the video description below, and print it out on a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper. Even better would be for you to get a piece of 12 by 18 paper and measure the border that you're seeing right now with 3 inches space at the top and bottom and with 1 inch of space on the left and right. Don't forget to draw a reference point, which is a small cross right in the exact middle of your piece of paper. I'd recommend that you use a ruler and measure accurately in order to locate and draw that small reference point cross. Also, you can download this reference sheet, which I'll be using to draw my simplified version of Marvin the Martian. I'll be referring to the Simple Shapes image on the left. If you'd like to refer to it while you draw with me, it's available for download in the description of the video. So, if you're ready to have some fun, print out your border template or measure your border on a 12 by 18 piece of paper. Print out your reference sheet, grab your pencil and your eraser, and let's make a simplified version of Marvin the Martian, one of the most famous cartoon characters of all time. Of course, the first thing I want to do is start with my line of action. I'm going to notice right now how close it is to my reference point, and I'm going to put a mark right there, just a little bit to the left, as you can see. Coming up here to my upper left-hand corner, I'm going to come into the right, and I'm going to put a mark where I think my line of action touches my border. That's about right there. Okay. Coming down here to the lower right-hand corner, I'm going to come into the left, and I'm going to put a mark about right here. So I have 3 marks, as you can see, for my line of action. And I just want to connect those with a gently curving line. So I'll start here at the top, and I'm going to draw towards that, nice and light and loose. Hit my mark near my reference point, and then I want to continue down towards my mark at the bottom, right there. Okay, and that's my line of action. Light, loose, sketchy, and that's going to help me get the angle or posture of my figure. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to draw in the circle for his head. Now, what I notice is at the bottom of that circle is just a hair below my reference point. So I'm going to mark a spot about right here, and this will give me the bottom of my circle for his head. Okay, now what's going to be difficult is getting this head shape the right size. So I want to be really careful as I take a look and determine the size of this oval. So I'm going to take a look at my negative space, and at its closest point, I'll probably want that to be somewhere about here, touching that mark. And over here, it's probably something like this. Okay, so you kind of see that I'm developing this area right here for my oval for his head. It's not a circle, it's more of an oval. So I'm going to go ahead and start drawing that. And as I draw it, I'm going to look at it, see what I think, and make sure that my first shape is as accurate as possible. So I'm thinking something like this. And I want to keep my oval at this angle following my line of action. And my line of action should cut that oval in half, of course. So I'm thinking something like this is about right. Okay, now while I'm working here with this oval for his head, I'm going to go in and put those horizontal lines that are going across this oval. So I'm going to put one crossing my line of action about right here, and another one crossing my line of action about here. Now I don't want to draw those straight across, but I want to draw them with curves. And as I said many times before, if you put a curving line on a circle, it changes and becomes less a circle and more of a ball, which is a three-dimensional object. So this gives me the head of Marvin the Martian. And I really want to be careful with my first shape that I'm drawing right there. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and continue. And the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and put in his body. Now his body, as you can see, is just going to be a little bit inside of his head, right here. And what I want to be careful about is keeping that body kind of small, but following this line of action. So as I come down, I want to be something, I'm thinking something like this, right in there. Okay, and I'm going to draw this curving shape that's fairly thin, like this, and I'll come down and I'll hit my mark like that, right there. For one side, it's a little bit thicker on this other side, a little bit wider at the top, and as it comes down, it's a little bit skinnier. And it's kind of like this bean type of shape, as you can see, like that. And that gives me the shape of the body for Marvin the Martian. Now, you also might notice that there's a center line on the body that shows us where the center of it is. And I'm going to sketch that in like this. Okay, and there's the body of Marvin the Martian. Now I feel really good about that compared to the head, and I'm ready to move on. Now I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and position the simplified shape for his helmet. Okay, so I'm going to look at that. I'm going to come up the bottom of this oval here. I'm going to put a mark like this. And it's basically symmetrical, so if I take a line kind of coming across like this, the other side of that helmet will be about here. And that line's just got a little bit of a curve to it, and I think it goes down about like that. And this other side will be about the same, like that. Okay, coming up here above the head, I'm going to go ahead and mark a spot right there. Okay, and then if I compare the corner of the helmet to this curving line here, I'd want that to be about right there. Okay, so I'm just going to connect this like this. And again, I want to do about the same thing on this side. So I'm going to come up and position the corner of that helmet maybe here, and this will come down like this. Right there like that. Okay, that's the top of the helmet. And then down here, I'll put a little slanted line like that. And then I want this to be a fairly straight line as it comes down. And that's going to give me the side of the helmet, like that. And then over here as well, I'm going to go ahead and kind of connect these like this, and that's going to give me the helmet right about there. And then this will come down once again as a straight line like this and connect to that corner. Okay, so that kind of gives me the simplified shape for the helmet. Okay, now you can't draw a Martian without drawing the Martian's feather. So as I come up my line of action, I want to come up about right, I'm thinking about right here, and that looks about right. The distance from the top of the feather to my border, that's about right. And I'll put in a curving line like this for the top of the feather, just like that. Okay, and I'm going to check its width. It's going to go about right there. And it's once again symmetrical, so the other side's about the same. I'm thinking right there. Okay, so I'm going to come up a little bit, and then this line's basically going to be parallel, slight curve, parallel to my line of action. And again, the other side of the feather, let's do that also, and we'll get this like this. Okay, once again, that feather should be cut in half with your line of action. Okay, great. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to draw my comparison, and I'm going to put in this wrist, this circle for his wrist. And I want to look at the corner of my helmet, and I want that wrist to be about even with the corner and about this close to the helmet. So that's really easy to locate if I'm putting a circle about right here for the wrist. So I compare that with the corner of the helmet, and I think that's about right. So once again, I compare something new, the wrist, with something I already drew, the corner of that helmet. Okay, so if I have that there, I notice that the arm is going to be connected to the bottom of the head, right here at the bottom. It's going to come up through the helmet, and we're going to connect like this to the bottom of the wrist. That's one side of the arm. Fairly skinny arm. I'm going to come down just a little bit below my reference point, so that's about right here, like that. I want to start there, and I'm going to finish that about right there. And I'll draw this down like this. Once again, I'm drawing through the helmet, and I've got that nice arm for Marvin the Martian. Okay, now while I'm working at this, I'm going to go ahead and continue, and I'm going to draw a shape for the hand, which is very interesting. So I'm going to come up, and I'm looking at that first shape, and I want that to be, kind of following this angle, and I want that first shape to land about right there. Looks good. And I'm just going to kind of draw this oval type of shape like this for the first part of the hand of Marvin the Martian. Okay, so that's something like that. Okay, that looks good. Alright, now when I'm working on a cartoon character and I'm working on hands or feet, I would always want to be a little too big instead of too small. And so I'm going to notice that that hand shape is going to end up just a little bit below my border. So I'm going to make a mark here for some negative space. So that kind of gives me a spot to draw towards. Okay, so I'm going to draw here from about the center of the shape right here. And I'll curve this up like this, rounded, kind of hit my mark right there. I think that's about right. Once again, if I'm making a mistake on this hand, I would want it to be bigger instead of too small. Okay, now the other side of it's going to come up here like this. There's going to be a bit of a curve into it. I think it's something right here. And then this will kind of curve downward, like that. And this will just kind of give me a shape to be filled up by Marvin the Martian's hand. Okay, that looks good. Let's move on. Now, the next thing I want to draw is I want to draw the oval disc here for Marvin the Martian. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to look at my line of action, and I want to make a mark for how far up it goes, and I'm thinking of a spot about right here. Okay, so I want that to cross his body about here. Okay. Then I'm going to look at the bottom of his body here. And I'm not looking at the bottom of that shape, but I'm looking at the flat part of the shape. And I'm going to come down, and it's only going to be about this far from the bottom of the body. Now if you're confused, I could put another mark right there for that thickness of it right there. Alright, so I need to draw an oval. So when I take a look at that, what I want to notice when I start this oval here, It's going to come out, and it's going to be something like this. And I'm just going to sketch that outside that body like this, get this curving, and I know where it's going to because I made my mark. So it's going to come right here like this for the disc, like that. Now I want to be careful about this, and I want to also be careful not to draw it straight across, but it is tilting upwards towards the right. Okay, and as I come out here, I'll draw over something like that. Okay, now you might notice that this side's a little bit wider, and that this side over here is a little bit more pointed, about like that. Okay, and that's the first shape of the disc for Marvin the Martian. Now, we want that disc to look three-dimensional, so we need to add the side of it. So this would be like the top of it, and now we need to draw the side, which will be something like this. So it makes it look like some type of coin, where you can see the top of it and the side of it, and something like that there. Okay, then I want to continue down with that curve, hit the mark that I made right there, and over here as well. And that makes it look very three-dimensional, as I mentioned, like some type of disc instead of an oval. And we always love the third dimension if we can draw it right there. Okay, excellent. Now, once I've got this in position, and I'm happy with it, I can use it to locate another shape. For example, the wrist of his second arm. So you see how that wrist is going to be right here, with a little bit of it going inside this disc. So I'm going to draw a circle right there. And I know exactly where it is, because I think I've drawn it in the right spot compared to the disc. Okay, then I'm just going to take this up, basically a straight line to the top of the body, like that. And then the other side of the arm going through the disc, and touching the body right there, creating this really small triangle of negative space, like that. Okay, and that'll give me the arm for Marvin the Martian. Now I'm going to repeat myself. When I draw this second hand, I would rather it be too big instead of too small. But I'm going to use my knowledge of negative space to help me. So I'm going to come in from my left border, and I'm going to put a mark out here, and that's telling me I want the end of the hand to come out at least that far. Okay, so let's draw that. So I'm going to start here at the wrist. I'm going to draw upwards. Check how close I am to the helmet. That looks good. I come up here, get this curve, and then I'm going to curve downward like that, hitting my mark that I made. Once again, up, rounded, down a little bit. Okay, I think that gives me some good size for the hand of Marvin the Martian. Starting here at the bottom of the wrist, I'm going to go down just a little bit, and I'm going to curve upwards, and I'm going to come to kind of a point right there, like that. Okay, and that looks about right. And we'll have some fingers that are going to fill up that shape there. Okay, thumb. So I'm going to come down with a curve. I'll draw this line perhaps a little longer than I need it to be to start. I'll come across the bottom of the hand to about here. And I want to make sure I'm not drawing it straight up and down, but it's going at this angle here. And I'll draw in this thumb shape like this right there. Okay, that's a nice simplified version for the hand of Marvin the Martian. Okay, legs. Now, as you can see, I need this leg and this foot to end up here in this corner. So I'm going to start here at the body, and I'm going to draw the beginning part of the leg right here, as you can see. And then just kind of help myself, I'm just going to draw a light line to kind of give myself the angle that I need to have for that. Okay, so that's basically what it needs to be like. Okay, now if I draw my comparison, I can compare the wrist to the ankle, and I can see that if I was to connect them, it would be kind of a slanted line like this. Okay, and then if I was to look at the thumb, compare it to that ankle, so you can see I'm kind of triangulating the position of it, and that tells me that ankle needs to be about right here. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and draw that in. But did you see how I compared it with the wrist and the thumb to kind of figure out where that is? And that's what drawing is learning to see the relationship between the shapes. And you just saw me compare the wrist and the thumb to the ankle, and I think that's about right. Okay, then I can easily connect, which is a basic curving line, sort of straight curving line a bit, and I'll just come up here to the mark I made for the leg right there. And here's the other side. Notice how the leg is just a little bit thicker at the base of it, like that. Okay, and that gives me a nice leg for Marvin the Martian. Now the same comment that I made about hands, I would make about feet. It'd be nice if they were too big instead of too small. So I'm going to mark my negative space. It tells me the toe needs to hit this mark here for negative space, and then the bottom of that is going to be something about here. So I already know where this foot has to end up in order to have the size of my drawing be right compared to the border. Okay, so I'll sweep down like this from the ankle, and I'll touch that, and we'll curve it like that. This will come down and over. There we go. Sometimes I like to find an oval within the shape. You can see me doing that like that. Sometimes that makes it a little easier for me to draw it. Okay, and that gives me the foot for Marvin the Martian. Okay, now the two legs are very different from each other, very different shapes and angles, which makes it fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at my line of action. I lost it just a little bit. I want to make it just a little bit darker so you can see it. And then right below the disc, a very small space, I'm going to go ahead and draw a small ankle, and I'm noticing how close it is to the disc. So right there. Okay, great. Now back to the body, I'm going to draw the base of the leg right here. Okay, it's a small shape. I'll come up like this, then I want to curve, beginning to turn through my disc, and back to the base of it right there. Just like that. And then again, if you notice, the point of the knee is just barely below your disc. So right there. It's just like a curving tube. It comes down, and that gives me the very differently shaped leg of Marvin the Martian compared to the first one. Okay, feeling good about that. Again, last thing to do is locate that foot. I'll check my negative space. I want it to be about this close to my border, somewhere right here. Looks about right. And I'm just going to draw from my ankle. I've got to notice that it's going to curve downwards like this, about to the middle of that foot. And once I get near the middle about here, it's going to curve upwards. So I want to go down and then up, hitting my mark for negative space, right there. Then I'll start at the top of the ankle. I'm going to curve upwards, once again, until I get near the top of that, and it's going to curve downwards, right there. Again, I can locate kind of this oval within this shape, like that. Okay, I'm just going to go over that just a little bit more. Once again, going up, and then down, right there. Okay, very good.
So, how did yours turn out?
I'm sure that if you are patient and careful, your simplified version of Marvin the Martian looks great. Remember, the hard thing for young artists to do is to figure out how to get started. But if you've worked with me, you've got that all figured out. Your drawing is accurate in terms of size and proportion, and now you're ready for the details. Use your simple shapes as a guide to help you know where to put the details and at about how big they should be drawn. As you draw the details, erase the simplified shapes. As a reminder, the reference sheet can be downloaded from the link found in the description of the video. Thanks again for stopping by, and don't forget to keep on drawing.